Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be on Lasswell because he did get his EX I believe a week ago or a little bit more, and yeah, it's time to get him out there for his information and his unit analysis. Without further ado, let's begin. Now for his abilities, his main job is going to be a Knight of Grand Shell, and he is the Ice. There's specific element for it because there is a similar job just for Rain where it says Fire instead. Outside of that, however, for the base unit, he's going to get Mirror of Equity, Heir to the Blade, Blade Flash Awakened, Fatal Bloom, and then Fatal Bloom upgraded if you use a passive, which you can see here is 40% more damage modifier as well as a 30% chance better hit chance. So this is a very nice upgrade if you do use the passive for it. From here we have Mirage that has 2 casts specifically that can literally nullify any damage one time. Azure Sky is his limit break. And for EX upgrades, specifically for Blade Flash Enlightened now instead of Awakened, as you can see, it's not only going to increase the damage modifier so that it's 210% now, but you can see that the range of its usage is also significantly better, so it's not just in a straight line. From here, Mirage turns into Mirage Plus, which now you get 3 casts instead of 2. And then his EX ability is going to be Mirror of Equity Haze, which is going to be an AoE ability that can do 165% and has a chance to blind as well. So yeah. That is basically his kit for his base job. Now for his sub job, if you are using the Knight of Grand Shell as a sub job, he gets Finger Snapped and Exorcising Storm. Exorcising Storm is an AoE, also it's a 2-hit ability, so it's pretty effective if you want to do chaining and or if you're trying to like break barriers kind of quickly. Finger Snap is not bad, however the AI doesn't choose to use it most of the time. It can be useful, however, if used in the correct situations. From here, for Samurai specifically, we're going to have his sub-job for it. The key things here is going to be Illusion, which is very important for evasion in general. He does have the basic like Hien, Night Veil and such. And he has all Borozuki instead of Kongo, which is, I mean, inflicting slow is almost always nice if you're able to like inflict it onto enemies. And then lastly, he does have the Dragoon sub-job, which is not bad. He does get jump and horizontal jump for damage options. And then he does have Dragon Standard if he wants to like basically give himself a Shikuchi for 3 turns. Here we are for resistances and passives. For resistances, the damage type, 10% to slash, negative 5% to pierce, 0% to strike, 10% to missile, and negative 15% to magic. Overall, as you can see, it's just a little bit mixture, not really too strong in everything, not really too weak in anything. He does have a 0% AoE and single target, as well as 0 defense and spirit at level 120 with his master ability included. So as you can see, he is a bit of a squishier unit in terms of just the raw defenses. Now his resistances to statuses is going to be 50% to blind and slow and 10% to charm. So it's not, I mean, it's not horrible, but he does not have anything for specifically disable and stop, so it is a little bit concerning. For his master ability, because he's an older unit, he does not have the mono element for ice specifically, so he just gives himself slash attack 5 and accuracy by 15. He is a 3-move, 1-jump unit, 80 cost, and his passives, what I would recommend is going to be using Tranquil Detachment because that is specifically for the Fatal Bloom as well as your defense penetration going up. From here, you can either use Blade Soul or Attack Up. If you want to use him as evasion, and I would highly recommend if you're going to use him at all to go evasion in some way or form, Blade Soul is very good. If you just want the raw damage up, Attack Up is going to be better. For Niche and Flex, I will say the jump can give him 3-move 2 jump. I don't necessarily will say it's better than his other passives because of what you're missing out on, and because he is a DPS, you kind of want to get him to deal damage. And the HP up is not really useful because he does not have very high base HP, so getting a percentage gain on HP will not be as effective compared to other gains. For his reaction abilities, we have Mirror of Retribution, Third Eye, and Dragon's Blade. I would highly recommend to just use Dragon's Blade, honestly. You don't really want to mess around with the other ones unless you are relying on him to survive more often than not from strong hits, just in general. But yeah, I would personally use Dragon's Blade or Third Eye if I went a full evasion build. Now, here we are at Lasswell's rating out of 5. I just have to say before we continue, I did put him at a 3 out of 5. However, if you are a new player or someone that's just started playing the game, I would put him to a 2 out of 5. So I would really suggest not pulling him unless you know how to use him and or you have the equipment for him, because he does have situational like equipment for him that I will talk about in the cons very soon after the pros. But yeah, here we go for the pros. He's actually able to become a very high evasion and accuracy DPS unit with very high defense penetration. He does have low HP, however. He does have high attack, high agility, and one of the highest base lucks in the game. While his just luck stat at level 120 master ability with nothing on does not seem too high, he does have one of the highest base luck stats in the game, so percentage gains will be very, very good on him. He actually has more base luck than 2B, but it is slightly lower than UR Zazan, Zazan the Unkillable. So yeah, that is something to consider if you do give him like percentage gains on luck. He also has access to 2 attack types, as you saw, Slash and Pierce, because of his Dragoon subjob. He's able to use both heavy armor and cloth armor, which allows him for a lot of flexibility in terms of like armor builds, which is kind of interesting because he's kind of like a Ramza in a way where they're able to use both sides of things. He can easily take out units that don't have high defense as long as they don't have Slash and Pierce resistance. More often than not, I'll say Slash because not a lot of people will be using his Dragoon subjob, mostly because jump and horizontal jump have a cast time. He has nothing to reduce it, as well as it does not hit as hard compared to his Slash abilities. But yeah, any unit that does not have any like defenses or mitigation, or I mean, if they have defense only but they don't have any Slash resistance and or they don't have like a barrier or something, Lasswell can take them out very, very quickly. He has very high accuracy due to his master ability as well as his upgraded Fatal Bloom. As you saw, his master ability gives him 15 flat accuracy, which is pretty good, on top of his already crazy high base luck. This coupled with another 30% higher from upgraded Fatal Bloom, you have a really good chance of hitting evasion units. Mirage, his barrier ability is literally nullifies all damage, any type of damage, one time. It still can be chained, however, so keep that in mind. And what I mean by chained is that if someone sharp shoots you, breaks the Mirage, and someone else sharp shoots you again that's the same element, it will chain off that damage. So just something to consider. Also, if they do have a barrier break and they break it, it does not nullify the damage. The barrier, or quote-unquote Mirage, just breaks and then he takes damage. So you do have to consider that. He has very strong single target abilities, but this does not mean that he has bad AoE hitting abilities. As you saw before, his single target abilities can get to like 240% damage, which is very high, and his AoE at most, outside of his limit break, which is 200%, it would be like 165% at most. He does have an Ice Imperil available on his Blade Flash, so this is able to increase his damage further. Each of his subjobs are actually useful for what he can do. Like, if you're doing like raids or you need like a multi-hit ability just in general, his main subjob, the Grand Shell Knight, is pretty good. If you want to be like evasion and or use like more cheaper AP cost abilities, the Samurai job subjob is good. And then Dragoon is if you want to flex into the Pierce damage. So yeah, he does have good flexibility for that. The enemy AI can literally screw up if they cannot accurately hit an evasion stack Lasswell with Mirage on. This was also an issue back in the day, like before EX was out. Evasion Lasswells with Mirage not only like screwed up enemy AI, because if you have a 0% chance of hitting and he has Mirage on, your unit won't even try attacking him. It'll just keep skipping turns until like one of you is dead. And because Lasswell is going to be constantly hitting you, yeah, if he's able to get his evasion so that you can only hit him at a 0% chance, which is actually pretty rare depending on the unit you have, it depends on the situation. In a 1v1 situation, this is very useful. Lasswell more often than not does win this matchup because of how the AI will act. If they can't break the Mirage and or they can't hit him, they will just not hit him at all. Like they won't even attempt to try and attack him. You can quote-unquote work this out with other units as well. However, because he specifically has Mirage, which literally makes damage equal 0 if they try to attempt to attack him at all, they won't choose that option more often than not. So this is an AI trick that some people have used in previous class matches before EX units came out long time ago. So yeah, it is still something that's viable. Now for the cons, he does have no base, spirit, and defense. He must evade hits or have his Mirage on, or else he will die very quickly. Also, before we keep going, when I said about the enemy AI about his Mirage and evasion, I don't know if it changed fully now, but that was literally how it worked back then. I know I iterate it before someone might like call me out on it and be like, this is wrong, it doesn't work like that, and maybe it does still, or maybe it doesn't, but that was something that you could have done to like change up enemy AI if they had literally no accuracy. Anyways, continuing on with the cons. He has very low HP and very short range on his abilities for damage, unfortunately. It's really... he does not have reach. Like, he has to get in the face of the enemy, pretty much. His Ice Imperil as well from Blade Flash does apply after you hit them. So it is more of a setup ability more than instant gratification, which can arguably make or change like a fight, because If you're able to just one-shot them if the effect lands before the actual hit happens, it's much better compared to after, in my opinion. Also, since most damage is from his slash-oriented abilities, without slash imperil or penetration, he really struggles to fight most relevant physical tanks. And what I mean by physical tanks right now would be like Warrior of Light, we have King Mont, we have Dwayne, we have Fryavia, who's getting a slash resistance vision card. He will have a hard time actually killing them because they have slash resistance and he has nothing against that. Even if they had a lot of defense, it does not matter because he does have good defense penetration, but he has nothing for slash specifically. So it is a little bit worrisome how easy it is to mitigate damage from him. He is vulnerable to disable and stop, and most importantly, barrier break abilities. I have to stress this out. Like, if you get hit by a barrier break ability and it has enough damage to kill him, because he is very squishy, it will kill him. Like, it will straight up just kill him because of how squishy he is compared to like other units in general, especially DPS. To become high evasion for Lasswell, he does have one of the highest evasions in the game. It's close to 2B's potential. It's not going to be at Zazan's potential unless, unfortunately. However, even if you do get him to evasion, he will significantly like fall in damage and potential. His damage potential will fall if you go full evasion because he does not have the proper setup for it that also retains his damage. What I mean by that is, like, for example, 2B and Tifa, if they use both of their vision cards, they not only keep their damage, they also get an insane amount of defenses as well as evasion. So, like, he does not have the same synergy for that, especially with ice units. While he, I have to also say, he is required to have Purple Lightning, which is a raid weapon that is rerunning as of right now, which we have like a week left at most to do that you can farm. It is his best damage potential. If you are not using this katana, which is the Purple Lightning, you are going to have a significantly lower amount of damage output from him. That's why if you're a new player, like I said, I don't recommend using him, and I would put him at a 2 out of 5 or even a 1 out of 5 for a new player specifically, because he does not get you to a new place where you're not already at if you're a new player or an old player. So I can't really recommend him for that. I will say though, however, if he's kind of like a side unit you want to work on, he is definitely a 3 out of 5. While he does have insanely high accuracy with a decent setup, it's still not a 100% hit. If he's not able to reach 100% hit because of a setup you have and or the enemy is giga stacking evasion and you can't really keep up with it, he will not be hitting 100%. It's much better to still have more reliability on 100% hit abilities rather than banking it off on an accuracy increase instead. While his master ability is a bit outdated without a mono element or anything, especially to use other multiple ice units, he does still have a decent amount of gains from it, mostly on the terms of accuracy, because it does still help regardless, even if it's not guaranteed. As I said before, since he has bad synergy with ice evasion, because there are not really good ice units that can evade, if he wants to be anywhere close to the same tier as 2B and Tifa, he has to give up a lot of damage potential for not only himself but also for his team. He also has no barrier breaks and he has no 3-hit abilities. He does have a 2-hit ability, which is Exercising Storm, which is on a sub job and very expensive on AP cost. So yeah, if you do have barriers as well, they are effective against Lasswell. And lastly, because he is an ice element that is focused on mainly slash damage, it's very difficult to make use of his damage in just current meta matchups in general against stronger and more updated units as well. Because he is also an older unit, he struggles in that department and his kit in general. So yeah, he really, if we have an EX2, like he really needs that if it's possible, or like a second mastery in my opinion. I do think he's still usable and he's not bad. However, he does struggle to keep up with more meta situations. So that's why overall I do give him a 3 out of 5. Now for his TMR, it is Lasswell's clothes. It is a cloth armor type, 306 HP, which is 396 HP. Sorry, I am very blind. And 8 defense and 15 accuracy. Overall, because this is an armor TMR, not only are we like kind of looking for like a large amount of defenses, especially for the HP side, which is on the way lower end, it's not too favorable. In that regard, we do have the active ability, which is Tranquil Spirit, which is going to increase critical rate for himself for 40% for 3 turns for himself. Not only is this a really bad AP gain because it's only 24 TP cost, you can only use this once, it's single target, and it's really not that great compared to the amount of other things you can give him in his TMR slot. So overall, if you even if you want his TMR, I can't really recommend it at all. And yeah, that is the rating for Lasswell. Now here's an example set for Lasswell that is strictly going for evasion, like evasion focused. Obviously this is not going to be like, oh, this is a comp I should try out or set up. I'm not going to recommend it. It is a possibility. I would say it's very good. However, it is something to think about. Mostly because it's using the other units. So Zazanda Unkillable would be using the Luck Vision card, not only to give himself some evasion as well, he also gets the earth damage from it, but it's also giving luck to the entire party. Helena, as we know, a lot of people using her as a staple. Maybe I shouldn't even have used her for an example because we just know how very strong of a unit she is. Would be using the Shiva Vision card so that everyone gets that flat 20 evasion, which is very useful for evasion compositions. From here, Lasswell will be using his purple lightning weapon. He's using the ribbon for dodge. Sage Hat works as well. And then bells, just for after he uses Mirage, he does have another option for like more AP generation. Because there are no good ice espers that are like both evasion and damage, we use specifically here Odin and go for at least 2 of the evasion notes here. And then lastly, he's going to be using his own vision card, Frost Flower Flash, I believe. And this is mostly not only to like capitalize on top of his luck gains already from bestowed, but since he's also getting luck from Secret of the Hearts vision card from Zazan, he's gonna have an insanely high luck stat in general from here. So yeah, this is basically gonna be like abusing evasion to see how it goes. I'm not gonna necessarily say it's gonna be successful, but yeah, this is an example setup. For future stuff to consider, I will say, once we do get the Santa Claus, which I do believe the raid should return probably December, hopefully. Please, Gumi, can we just get this? I mean, I don't like evasion units, but I mean, it's still there for balance, you know? It's like, obviously, it needs to... I'm not gonna say it needs to be in the game, but it's an item that should have been in the game already when it already happened in JP side of things. So yeah, this is something to consider. From here, 100% hit abilities, fire elements, and barrier breaks will be very, very effective. Slash resistance as well is majorly effective. Basically, if you're using a King Mont, Lasswell is gonna get destroyed by him, unfortunately. I mean, if your Lasswell is super evading, not really. However, Lasswell will be doing little to no damage to King Mont in return, so that is something to consider. From here, Cloud is also here not only because of triple slash that can literally break his Mirage and then hit him twice, and or if it is not an evasion Lasswell, if Cloud just limit breaks him, he will die. Like, it breaks the barrier of Mirage and he is just dead. But yeah, this is my example setup and evaluation of Lasswell. If you like it, please leave a like and comment. But yeah, until next video, peace out.